without sight. Connect, collaborate, and create.
Hello, and welcome to the Sound Without Sight podcast. In this episode, James Bowden, Braille Technical Officer at RNIB, demonstrates all the basics of the notation app MuseScore Studio using a screen reader. You can access the accompanying handout and notes at soundwithoutsight.org. Just search for MuseScore using the search box on the site. If you're listening to this as an audio-only podcast but would like to see James's screen, a video of this session is also available on the Sound Without Sight YouTube channel. This session was recorded live as part of the Sound Without Sight monthly meetup session for October 2024, featuring questions submitted by our community. James starts with a brief overview of his background. We hope you enjoy.
My role at the RNIB is Braille Technical Officer, which means I'm supposed to know something about Braille and something about technical. And that includes the various different Braille codes, including the Braille music code. And I do learn classical music from Braille scores. I think it's a great way to do it. You can actually find out what the composer wrote rather than somebody's interpretation of the piece. And then you can make your own decisions how you might like to play it, which is great.
So let's move on to MuseScore Studio. Maybe if you could give us a little overview, James, of what MuseScore is.
Certainly. So MuseScore, if you like, is a music word processor. So you use a program such as Microsoft Word to produce documents containing text. You could use MuseScore to make documents containing music. If you like, some people call it sheet music. Other people just call it music. But basically, it's about putting blobs on staves on print bits of paper. That's its primary role. But there's so much more than that.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to clear off a few quick questions that we had, because I think it's good to include them at this very kind of early general stage. So the name MuseScore Studio got a few people kind of confused whether it's a notation program, something like Goodfeel or Sibelius, or whether it is a digital audio workstation, something like Logic.
It's definitely a notation editor, so it's in the same category as Goodfeel and Sibelius.
Mm-hmm. And a question from James Risden. To what extent do you need to understand stave notation in order to be able to use MuseScore? For example, knowledge about clefs and keys that Braille music doesn't really use.
That is a really, really good question. And I've been thinking about this. And I think there are only really two areas that I've found so far. Now, there may well be more which I haven't found. And one is clefs. We don't normally have treble clef, bass clef, and all the other different kinds of clef in Braille music. Sometimes I think I might like to see them, but we don't routinely use them. So that's the one area. The other area is beaming. So in print music, 2 quavers in standard simple time or 3 quavers in various compound times are often beamed together. And then semi-quavers, they come in 4s or 6s and so on and so forth. But there are exceptions I've discovered. And that's one point which I need to learn a bit more about too. Apart from that, so far, I think most of it is general music theory. Things like flats and sharps and intervals and bar lines and repeats and ornaments and all that kind of good stuff. General music theory.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. One more general question. We've had it from a couple of people, so I'm just going to paraphrase. So as a sighted teacher, how could I use MuseScore to teach students who are blind? How could I use it as a tool for teaching?
Well, we might discover some of that as we go along. But in short, MuseScore is accessible with screen readers. NVDA works the best on a PC. There is also a Mac version which works with VoiceOver. And you can use MuseScore as a composition tool. You can also use MuseScore to produce music that you want to put into Braille. And there's also a Braille window in MuseScore if you have a Braille display.
Cool. Thanks very much for the overview, James. So I think now if we crack on with the demo, I shall hand over to you.
Thank you. So the first thing to do is download MuseScore if you haven't done so already. I'm not actually going to go through it step by step because it's already installed on this computer and I don't want to get in trouble with our IT department trying to install things again. In short, you go to musescore.org. That's MuseScore, MuseScore.org. And there's a download button towards the top of the page. Press that and then choose the version that you want. Now, I would recommend, for accessibility reasons at the present, to install MuseScore without MuseHub. So that's just the MuseScore program. MuseHub, just briefly, lets you install more realistic sounds called Muse sounds, and you can use those as well, but it's not entirely accessible, that part. So I would recommend at this stage, just install MuseScore without MuseHub. Go through your usual standard procedure virus checks, etc., and then run the setup program. You'll get a wizard on the screen. It'll say welcome, then it'll ask you to accept a license agreement. Then it'll ask you where do you want to install it, and then it'll say install. You might get a user access control UAC thing where you accept that you're going to make changes to your computer, and then hopefully lots of progress bars and it will install. Standard stuff, tabs, arrows, and space or enter to operate the buttons. So I've shared my screen and I've got NVDA running. And let's see if I can show you what it looks like the first time you run MuseScore.
Screen sharing meeting control, MuseScore Studio window. Getting started window, getting started.
It's a getting started window, and it asks me if I want to choose a visual theme. I think it does anyway.
Follow system theme checkbox not checked.
Yes, it says that. So you can choose what kind of visual theme you want. I'm not going to change anything here because I'm going to concentrate on screen readers. You can also access these themes through the preferences in MuseScore later on. So I'm just pressing tab to find a next button.
Light radio button, red 40, enable high, next button.
Here we go.
Space. Playback. Enjoy realistic playback for free by downloading our new Muse Sounds library, next button.
I'm not going to do that either.
Video tutorials.
And we've got video tutorials, and I'm not going to watch those either. I'll leave that to you if you want to explore all that. Have fun and enjoy.
Finish button. MuseScore Studio window, MuseScore Studio. Main toolbar direction is horizontal panel, home radio button checked.
Okay, a bit of speech there, but basically I'm now on the main MuseScore window. And there's focus is on a toolbar. There's lots of toolbars in the MuseScore screen, but don't worry about all that. Basically, it's just a group of buttons or choices, etc., etc. And this particular one has home, score, and publish. Home lets you load things and see your recent scores. Score is where we'll do most of the work. And publish is for actually putting your music onto the musescore.com website. Now, I did say org earlier for downloading it, and I did now say com. There are two sites. MuseScore.com is primarily a wonderful resource for loads and loads and loads of scores. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for, but you can find all sorts of interesting music on MuseScore.com. Not going to demonstrate that today because we are going to actually write some music into MuseScore ourselves. So first of all, this is the piece which we are going to try and input. It's the Mozart Piano Sonata in C major, K545. Now that's a bit of a formal title. You may well know the piece even if you don't know all the numbers and names. It's this one.
Application menu panel, File button.
And as the Mozart fades away, I pressed Alt and I've gone to the menus. The first thing we need to do is make a new file, which you do through File, New.
Blank.
That's a good
New.
start. There we go.
Control+N.
New, Control+N. Just as you would in an ordinary word processor, you can do File, New, or you can press Control-N.
New score window, new score, new score. Instruments list. Search edit blank.
I'm now in what they call the MuseScore wizard. It's basically 2 pages of dialog boxes. On the first page, you choose your instruments, and on the second page, you can set the initial key signature, time signature, number of bars, tempo, title, composer, and so on and so forth. Let's go through this and set this up for the Mozart Piano Sonata. Now, when you look at setting up instruments, there's 2 ways you can do it. Well, there's more than 2 ways, but there's 2 basic things. You can either choose your instruments manually, or you can use one of the preset templates that MuseScore has. And templates basically mean you can have a whole ensemble or a group or whatever your standard kind of music is like, and you can set it all up in one step rather than having to add all the instruments individually. So for example, if I had a symphony orchestra, I can pick the orchestral category, choose symphony orchestra, and boom, there it all is in the right order already for me. I'm actually going to use the template to find the piano. I could easily just type piano into this search box and then go down the list. I could use the choose instruments and find the category for keyboard instruments and find piano that way, but I'm actually going to use the template for solo instruments and see if I can find piano that way. So we can see a lot of this dialogue. Now, one of the things which is very important when using MuseScore with a screen reader, in many applications, you can press Tab to navigate to pretty much all the controls in the current screen. In MuseScore, be aware that sometimes you also need to use your arrow keys as well as Tab, and that will become apparent as we go through. So first of all, I want to find the choose instruments or templates choice.
Family list.
I'm pressing
Woodwind.
I'm pressing Shift Tab.
Choose instruments radio button checked.
There it is. Choose instruments radio button checked. I want to use the template, so I'm going to use the arrow key.
Create from template radio button not checked.
Not checked. Press the space to check it.
Space. Template list. Search edit blank.
And it's jumped back to that search box. But that's fine. Shift Tab.
Category list.
And now where I had a families of instruments when it was choose instruments, now it's a category list for the templates. The first one in the list is general, which has a treble clef, a bass clef, and what they call a grand staff, which is a treble and bass clef, bracketed together. I'm just going to use the arrow keys to come down and see what other categories we have.
Choral not selected.
Choral. Don't worry about the screen reader saying not selected. We can press space if I want to select it. Choral gives us things like SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, with or without pianos and organs and things like that.
Chamber music not selected.
Chamber music gives us things like a string quartet or a woodwind quartet, that kind of thing.
Solo not selected.
Solo, that's the one I think I want because a piano is a solo instrument. I'm going to press space
Space.
and then tab,
Template list.
a
Guitar.
template list. And the current selection is guitar. I want to arrow down.
Guitar plus tablature not selected. Guitar tablature not selected. Piano not selected.
Piano is the one I want. Now, if I press space, that will not only select it, but it will also add it to my score. So be aware you do not have to press the Add to Score button as well as choosing it from the list. Otherwise, you end up with two pianos, and that could get very confusing.
Space.
I've just selected the piano, and if I tab,
Zoom in button.
there's a zoom in button,
Done button.
a done button.
Create from template radio button checked.
Ooh, and then I'm back to create from template. What's happening here? Do you remember I said you have to use the arrow keys as well as tab? Let's see what happens if I use the arrow keys as well. So first of all, we have the choose instruments and the create from template. Tab.
Category list.
There's the category list. Tab.
Template list.
There's the list of templates in the category. Tab.
Zoom in button.
Zoom in. Aha. What happens if I arrow here?
Zoom out button.
That wasn't there before.
Zoom in button.
Zoom in and zoom out. And tab once more.
Done button.
Done.
Cancel button.
Cancel.
Next button.
Next. That's the one I want to move to the second page of options, which will let me set the key signature, time signature, and so on. So I'm pressing the space bar on the next button.
Space.
And nothing appears to have happened. Actually, it really has. The whole of the rest of the dialogue has changed, but I'm still focused on the next button, so the screen really didn't say anything. Press tab now, and we'll see we're in a different sort of place.
Score options panel. Key signature C major button.
Yes, the key signature button is the first thing. This dialogue is basically split into two halves. The first half is the key signature,
Time signature 4/4 button.
the time signature,
Tempo crotchet. Quarter. Note 120 button.
the tempo,
Bars 32 bars.
and the number of bars. And I use the arrow keys to move through those four buttons. Let's go back to key signature.
Key signature C major button.
Well, this particular piano sonata is in C major. I don't actually need to go in here, but I'll show you what happens if you do.
Space. MuseScore 4 window. Major radio button checked.
Two radio buttons, one for major and one for minor. Arrow between them and press space on the one you want. Let's try F minor. So I'm going to arrow down,
Minor radio button not checked.
check it with space.
Space.
The screen really didn't tell me it was checked, but if I use the arrows again,
Major radio button not checked. Minor radio button checked.
it does tell me it is checked. Tab,
A minor.
A minor, and we're now in a grid of all the different possible key signatures you can have. And again, you just use the arrow keys to find the one you need. So if I cursor right,
E minor not selected not. B minor not selected. F sharp minor not. C sharp minor not. G sharp minor.
they look like the sharp keys. So let's arrow down.
B flat minor not selected.
Here's the flat keys.
F minor not selected not selected.
I pressed the left arrow to go back one. So it's organized a little bit like your circle of fifths, except it's in two rows, the sharp keys on the top and the flat keys on the bottom. And you can just use all four arrow keys and explore that to find the one you need. I could press space on that to select F minor
Space. F minor.
and press escape to exit this dialog. There isn't actually an OK button. You just press escape and
New score window. New score. New score. Score options panel. Key signature F minor button.
OK. We're back to the buttons where you can set the key signature, and it's now got F minor selected. Now, I really need to put that back to C major. Let's just do that quickly.
Space. MuseScore 4 window. Major radio button not checked. Space. C major not selected not. Space. New score window, new score, new score. Score options panel, key signature C major button.
So all I did was use the space bar to select things and the tab and the arrow keys to find things and then escape to finish. Okay, that's the key signature. Arrow.
Time signature 4/4 button.
Again, it's actually the right setting already because this piece of music is in 4/4, but let's again just show you what's in the time signature dialog. So just press space to open it.
Space. MuseScore 4 window. 4/4 radio button checked.
4/4 radio button checked. In other words, it's a 4/4 numeric time signature. So there are actually three options here. The first is the numeric time signature. The second, using the arrow keys.
Common time, 4/4, radio button not checked.
This is the common time C symbol.
Cut time, 2/2, radio button not checked.
And the third one is cut time or abrève time, which is the C with a stroke through it symbol. I actually want the numeric time signature.
4/4 radio button checked.
There it is. How do you change it? What would you do if you wanted, say, 6/8? Press tab.
4 edit selected 4.
There's an edit control where you can type the top half of your time signature. You can either type it or use the arrow keys.
5, 6.
I just used the arrow keys and changed it from 4 to 6. Tab once more.
4 combo box.
It's the bottom number of the time signature, and it's a combo box. Now, combo boxes in MuseScore work slightly differently, again, from how you might expect. I can't just use the arrow keys because remember, arrow keys move around different controls. So to activate a combo box, press space.
Space. 4.
And now use the arrow keys.
2 not, 1 not select, 2 not select, 4, 8 not selected.
So I could choose 8 here, press space again.
8 combo box.
And now it's 6/8, press tab.
6/8 radio button checked.
And what used to be 4/4 radio button has changed to 6/8 radio button. Let's do that again to set it back to 4/4, what I actually wanted in the first place.
6 edit selected 6.
Tab to the top half, arrows,
5, 4.
back to 4, tab,
8 combo box.
combo box, I press space,
Space.
arrows,
4 not selected.
there's 4, space,
4 combo box.
tab once more.
4/4 radio button checked.
Brilliant, it's done it. Escape to come out of the dialog.
New score window, new score, new score. Score options panel, time signature 4/4 button.
Brilliant. And that's the button again to set the time signature. Remember, it's the key signature, the time signature. The third one.
Tempo crotchet, quarter, note 120 button.
Now, I'm not actually going to go in there, but that's where you can set the initial tempo or speed of your piece. And if you press one more down.
Bars 32 bars, no anacrusis button.
The number of bars with no anacrusis, in other words, no pickup bar. And you can choose how many bars you want in your piece. Now, I don't actually know how many bars there are in this sonata. I know there's quite a few. 32 is kind of a good number to get you started, but of course you can choose however many you want, and you can always add more or delete excess as you go. So again, I'm not actually going to go into that dialogue either. Just using the arrow keys, there's those 4 buttons: key, time, tempo, and number of bars. Press tab, the second half of this dialogue.
General score info panel, title edit blank.
Title, better put one of those in.
S.
Oh, my caps lock is the wrong way around.
Caps lock off. S. S. O. N. T. A. Space. N. O. Dot. Space. 1. 6. Space. N. C. M. A. J. O. R.
That'll do. Remember that tab may not cover everything, so even here, use arrow up and down to move through the various edit boxes. If I press down,
Composer edit blank.
composer,
W. Dot. Space. A. dot space M-Z-A-R-T.
otherwise known as WAM. And there's a subtitle,
Subtitle edit blank.
which I don't need to show. There's a lyricist and there's a copyright. I don't really need to fill those in. So now I am going to press Tab.
Done button.
The Done button. Well, is that the option I want? Let's arrow again.
Cancel button. Back button. Done button.
Well, back would take me back to choosing instruments. Cancel would close the whole thing down and give me a blank score with nothing in it. So this time, Done really is the thing I want to do.
Sonata number 16 in C major. Window Sonata number 16 in C major. Sonata number 16 in C major.
The screen reader read out a title quite a few times there. Don't let it bother you. It is a known issue. I have on the screen a blank score with lots and lots of empty bars. Let's briefly listen again to the first part so we know what we're trying to write.
Application menu panel.
That's enough for now. So the left hand is all in quavers or eighth notes, and we have a tune in the right hand. Let's enter some notes. The first thing to know is in MuseScore, there are two main modes, and you can switch between them by pressing the letter N, he says, hoping.
N. Note input mode. Rest bar. Bar 1 beat 1.
Brilliant. N switches between note input mode, where you enter notes, and normal mode. And I tend to use normal mode for basically anything other than entering actual notes. So we'll come on to some of the applications of normal mode later on. It told me I'm at bar 1, beat 1. And of course, that's the start of the piece. And it's a bar rest. Let's put some notes on. To do this, two main components of a note are its pitch and its length. In MuseScore, to set the length, you use the number keys, 1 to 9 are the main ones, with 5 being a quarter note or a crotchet, depending on which way you call it. The question came up whether you use the numbers at the top of your keyboard or on your number pad if you have one. The answer is you can use either. But bear in mind that your screen reader may take over the number pad. I'm on a laptop here, so I've only got the choice of the numbers at the top of the keyboard. 5 is a crotchet, as I said. Smaller numbers give smaller notes. So 4 is a quaver or 8th note, 3 is a semiquaver or 16th note, and so on and so forth. And bigger numbers give longer notes. So 6 is a minim or a half note, 7 is a semibreve or a whole note, and so on. This piece starts with a C minim. So I'm going to press the number 6 for a minim.
6.
Didn't tell me it was a minim. Selected, but it is. And then the note C. To enter the pitch of the note, you just use the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G as needed.
C. Note C5 minim, half, bar 1 beat 1.
Perfect. Next few notes, I want an E crotchet, quarter note, and a G crotchet, quarter note. So I'm going to press 5 to select crotchet.
5.
And
Crotchet,
then just
quarter note, note C5 minim, half, bar 1 beat 1.
So this time the speech did tell me I selected a crotchet quarter note, and it also then announced the minim that's already there. Don't be bothered by it. You have not changed that C, and we are still after it, so I can type E and G.
E. G. Note G5 crotchet, bar 1 beat 4.
Okay, first bar's good. The next note I want is a B, and it's a dotted crotchet. So I'm going to type 5 for crotchet, quarter note.
5. Crotchet, quarter note, note G5 crotchet, bar.
And it's telling me the current note that's already there. And I'm going to press the full stop or dot key, period, if you're American, to add the augmentation dot.
Dot. Augmentation dot, Note G5 crotchet, bar 1 beat 4.
It keeps repeating that G5. It's still there, and it's not affected by the keys that I've pressed, the number and the dot. It's not affected. It's still there. I'm actually on bar 2, beat 1, which is empty. Now let's press B.
B. Note B5 dotted crotchet, bar 2 beat 1.
Well, it's a B, but it's in the wrong octave. How do I change it? Now's a good time to introduce what the arrow keys do when you're actually writing notes in the main score part of MuseScore. Let's split these into horizontal arrows, left and right, and vertical arrows, up and down. 3 main key combinations to know. Left and right on their own move through the notes. So I'm just going to do that left and right. I'm going to go backwards first because we're at the end.
Note E, note C.
Okay.
Note E, note G, note B5.
And that's forwards. Control left and right moves through bars. So if I press Control left, we'll go straight to the first note, the C.
Note C5 minim, half, bar 1 beat 1.
And if I press Control right,
Note B5 dotted crotchet, bar 2 beat 1.
okay, moves by bars. And Alt left and right takes us not only through the notes, but anything else that happens to be connected with them and there on the stave as well. So let's go to the beginning. So Control left to get back to bar 1, beat 1.
Note C5 minim, half.
Is there anything before that? Now, if I press Control
Blank.
left, it doesn't do anything. If I press left, it doesn't do anything. But if I press Alt left,
Time signature 4/4 time, bar 1 beat 1. Key signature C major, A minor, bar 1 beat 1. Treble clef, bar 1 beat 1.
wow, there's other things there as well. Let's go back.
Key signature, time note C5, note E5, note G5, barlin single barlin. Note B5 dot.
A barlin, according to my speech synthesizer, is what I would normally call a bar line. And it's useful to know about these things because you can change them should you need to. So for example, if I wanted to, I could focus on that bar line and change it to a double bar. Or I could go and find that clef sign and change it to a different clef, or the key signature and change it to a different key, etc., etc. If I had other things on the stave, like staccato marks, slurs, and so on, they would also come in with the Alt left and right. So left and right moves through the notes, Control left and right moves through the bars, and Alt left and right moves through pretty much everything. That's horizontal. Vertical, up and down movement, has these functions. Up and down on their own will move your current note by semitones or half steps. So up,
Note,
etc. That's way too high. Down,
note.
okay. Now, one thing to be aware of, if you do this, it's going through all the semitones, and that's a really good way to do your accidentals. You can just use your arrow keys. You can, of course, if you wish, explicitly say sharp with a plus sign, flat with a minus sign, natural with an equal sign. MuseScore will do a lot of this for you because it knows your key signature. And you can use the arrow keys, but be aware, if you use a down,
Note B flat 5 dotted crotchet.
it called it a B flat. If I go down again,
Note A5 dot.
A5. If I go up,
Note a sharp 5 dot.
it now says it's an A sharp. So be very careful when you're using the arrows that you go the right way to make sure you don't get what in technical terms would be called an enharmonic error. Very fancy way of saying you've got the wrong accidental. So let's go back to the B natural.
Note B5 dotted crotchet.
I could go all the way down a whole octave with up and down, no problem. But Control up and down moves by octaves.
Note B4 dotted crotchet.
I'm straight there. Alt up and down we'll come to in a little moment. So we've got our music so far, and it's just got 4 notes in it so far. Let's go back to the beginning.
Note C5 mid.
That was Control left to get to the beginning. Space, we'll play it.
Space. Space.
Really exciting music. There's only 4 notes there. Let's add a few more.
Note B. Rest quaver.
Rate, rest, quaver or quaver. Sorry about the speech synth, folks. I now need 2 semiquavers or 16th notes. So that's the number 3.
3.
And I'm going to type CD.
C. D.
And then there's a crotchet or quarter note C.
5. C.
And then a crotchet rest. I could press 0 to do the rest, but I know that MuseScore in this particular case
Rest crotchet.
has already got it because it's the spare space in the bar. Let's add the next couple of bars.
Rest bar.
It's a minim A.
6. A.
It's the wrong octave. Control up.
Note A5.
It's in the right octave. Crotchets.
5.
GC.
G. C.
Another G.
G.
F. Quaver or 8th note.
4. F.
And then we have some semiquavers. 3.
3.
EF.
E. F.
Crotchet
5.
E.
E.
And then another crotchet rest.
Rest crotchet. Bar
Just
4. B.
arrowing right to get there.
Rest bar.
I'm going to add another bar of notes. This is where the big scales start, and we have a quaver A to start with.
4. A.
It's the wrong octave, so control down.
Note A4.
And then we have a whole string of semiquavers, so I can type 3
3.
and just type
B.
B,
C.
C.
D. E. F. G. F. G. F. E. B. A.
That was quick,
Note
wasn't
A4.
it? Go back to the beginning. I'm pressing control left just because we've learned that one.
Blank.
And we haven't got that many bars. And let's play.
Space. Space.
Okay, it sounds about right. Why did I just press space a second time there? It's because, remember, we have 32 bars, which we asked for to start with, and MuseScore will dutifully play all those remaining bars of silence. It's really exciting to listen to, but just remember to stop the playback when you've finished listening. Okay, we now need to add the left hand. I'm very conscious that I've only added notes so far, but let's add the left hand first. I said we'd come back to Alt, up and down, and that's the way you move through all the different voices and staves and instruments. So pressing Alt down.
Stave 2. Piano. Rest bar. Bar 1. Beat 1.
That sounds brilliant. Stave 2, and it's still on the piano, so that's the left hand. And I'm going to start writing this left hand. It's all in quavers or 8th notes, and it's a typical C, G, E, G kind of figure.
4. Quaver. 8th note.
Here we go.
C.
Well, the first one's in the wrong octave. So remember, control up moves by octaves.
Note C4.
There
Quaver.
it is. And here's come the rest of the notes.
G.
That's in the wrong octave as well. So control up again.
Note G4. E. G. C. Note C4.
Control down to move it down.
G. Note G. E. G.
All right. That's the first bar done. Now, the way MuseScore works out which octave to put the next note, it's basically the closest one. So an interval of up to a 4th will be done, no trouble. Anything above a 5th and you have to change the octave. So the rules are slightly different to the way Braille music octave signs work. All right, let's do the first bar, the second bar, D, G, F, D. We're still in quavers.
D. G. F. G.
And then a C, G, E, G.
C. Note C. G. Note E. G.
All right, I've
Note
done 2 bars. Let's just play all that back.
Blank. Space. Space.
And then we've got the right hand on its own. Now I could carry on entering the notes in the left hand, but as it's all this sort of C, G, E, G all the way through these first 4 bars, let's try something different. Now, just like in a word processor, you have copy and paste, you've got exactly the same kind of idea here in MuseScore with pretty much the same kind of keystrokes. Shift and the arrow keys to select, Control X to cut, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste. Very much like a word processor. Now, I'm no longer entering notes, strictly speaking, so I'm pressing N to come out of note input mode and go to the normal mode.
N. Normal mode.
Basically, I use normal mode when adding any other thing than just notes. So selecting things, adding slurs, adding stuff from the palette, we'll come on to that in a moment, and anything else that I might have to do apart from strictly entering notes, use normal mode. So the arrow keys on their own still work just as they did. Let's make sure I'm at the beginning.
Blank. Note D4, note C4 quaver, 8th, bar 1 beat 1.
Okay, and I'm going to copy that first bar. Now I could use Shift right a number of times to select all the notes individually, but remember that Control and the left and right move by bar, so Shift Control left and right will select by bar.
Note G4 quaver, 8th, bar 1 beat 4.5, selected range selection starts bar 1 beat 1 ends bar 1 beat 4.5.
Quite a lot to take in there, but the important thing was the selection start, beat 1, and the selection end, the same bar, bar 1, beat 4.5, because there's 2 quavers there. And Control-C to copy. Now, my copy of NVDA doesn't normally say anything when I press copy, so I'm not surprised it doesn't say anything when I do it in MuseScore. I need to move to bar 3.
Note G4 quaver, 8th, rest bar, bar 3 beat 1.
Which is blank, and paste. Didn't say anything, but NVDA doesn't normally say anything. And let's do it again in bar 4.
Rest bar, bar 4 beat 1.
All right, this is going to be really exciting, so let's play it all back.
Blank.
The left hand is going to sound terrible, I promise you, but we'll fix it.
Space. Space.
Dear, oh dear. Did we all used to play piano like that once upon a time? Hopefully I didn't.
Blank.
I'm not going to say if I did or not.
Note D4 quaver.
So,
Note C.
bar 3 and bar 4 need fixing. I'm on the first note of bar 3, and because it's all in quavers, it's really easy just to use the arrow up and down to change the G, E, G, and etc. to what I actually need. So
Note
there's
C4.
the C.
Note G4 quaver.
Becomes
Note
A.
A4. Note E. Note. Note A. Note. Note. Note E. Note. 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 Note G. Note. 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 Rest.
Okay, that was just using the arrows up and down and right to move to each note. Play it back now.
Note C4. Space. Space.
Okay. We've got one more bar here. It's tantalizing me. I'm going to do the 5th bar of the left hand.
Note. 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 Rest bar. Bar 5 beat 1.
There's bar 5. Let's enter the notes here. Now, I'm not actually explicitly going to note input mode, because if I enter a note, MuseScore will automatically switch to that mode for me. Be aware of that, because you can come unstuck if you don't get into the normal mode when you mean to be in normal mode. Right, so I'm going to press, the next note is an F crotchet.
E. Note E4 crotchet. Bar 5 beat 1.
That was a bit of a problem. I should have typed an F. What happens if you make a mistake? We all make mistakes. I could, of course, just use up and down, but your real friend in MuseScore, if you make a mistake, is undo, which is Control Z. And
Note G4, rest bar, bar 5 beat 1.
There it is gone. Don't use backspace to remove mistakes when you're entering notes. Use undo. There are times when you will use backspace to delete extra things, but for notes, it's easiest just to undo. And MuseScore has multiple levels of undo. So if you realize you made a mistake 3 notes back, you can press undo 3 times and those 3 notes will disappear. Right, let's try again. So crotchet, quarter note is 5.
5. Crotchet, quarter note, rest F.
That's
note
better.
F4 crotchet, bar 5 beat 1.
Now I do need 2 crotchet rests, so I'm pressing 0.
P.
Oh, Wrong one.
P, 0. Rest crotchet, bar 5 beat 2, 0. Rest crotchet, bar 5 beat 3.
Now then, the next bit is interesting because I need to put two notes together as a chord, an F and a C, or in other terms, an F in its fifth above. So F as a crotchet,
F.
and control down to get it in the right octave.
Note F3 crotchet, bar.
To add notes to make a chord, you just use the same letters as you did before, but with the shift key. So I'm pressing shift and C.
C. Note
And
C4 crotchet.
MuseScore very kindly played them all for me, which is great. And if I now play this bar,
Note F. Space.
perfect. Now's a really good time. Save. Whenever you use a word processor or any computer program, including MuseScore, it's a really good idea to save your work. We never know when the computer might crash or the power might go, and how frustrating it is when you lose work. So the usual keys apply, like Control S or File Save As or Save, etc. MuseScore gives you the choice when I press Control S for the first time.
MuseScore Studio window, MuseScore Studio, MuseScore Studio. Save to the cloud, free. Button files are saved privately on your own personal account. You can share drafts with others and publish your finished scores publicly too.
So I could save to the cloud on my account, which I haven't set up.
Save on your computer button. If you prefer to save your files on your computer, you can do that here.
Which is what I really want to do, save on my computer. So that's the one I'm going to press.
Save score dialog. File name, combo box collapsed. Edit Alt plus N selected sonata number 16 in C major.mscz.
And that is a standard file save dialog box, as we're familiar with from other programs. And MuseScore has already very kindly filled in the name for me based on the title of the piece that I entered in the new score wizard. Another good reason to get the title information right. I'm going to store it, or I don't know where I'm going to store it. Let's store it in temp.
Backslash, backslash.
And save.
Sonata number 6.
Job's done, and I'm back on the score window. Right then, let's enter a few more bars of the right hand and the left hand. We want to go back to note input mode.
N. Normal mode.
Normal
note
mode.
F. N. Note input mode.
Note input. There we go. I'm probably still on the left hand.
Rest. Note C.
Yes, I am. I want to go back up to the right hand. Alt up, remember, goes between all the voices and staves.
Stave 1. Piano.
There it
Note
is.
D5 semiquaver. 16th. Bar 5 beat 4. No. Rest bar. Bar 6 beat 1.
Okay. Now I could start entering all those quavers and semi-quaver runs again, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to use copy and paste again. Even though they're at slightly different pitches, MuseScore has some nice tricks that we can use here. So I'm going to go back to the start of bar 5 with Control left.
Note A4 quaver. 8th. Bar 5 beat 1.
Now, copy and paste means I should be in normal mode, not note input. So let's press N for normal mode.
N. Normal mode.
There we go. And now I'm going to select bar 5 with Shift Control right. Remember, Control right moves by bar, so this will select the bar with Shift.
Note A4 semiquaver. 16th. Bar 5 beat 4.75. Selected range selection starts bar 5 beat 1 ends bar 5 beat 4.75.
Lot to listen to, but it's correct. Control C to copy. And now, Control right to bar 6.
Rest bar. Bar 6 beat 1.
And paste. And Control right to bar 7.
Rest bar. Bar 7 beat.
And paste. And Control right again.
Rest bar. Bar 8 beat 1.
And paste yet again. Now all those notes are going to be very boring. It's the same sequence over and over and over again.
Note A4.
And I need to change that. So
Space.
all right, we don't want that. I need to change it and move it down a note each bar. So how do we do that?
Note A5. Note B. Note G5 crotchet. bar, note A4 quaver, note A4 quaver, eighth, bar 6 beat.
Bar 6 is where I want to start changing things, so I just used Control left and right to find my place again. Select the whole bar, Control Shift right.
Note A4 semiquaver, 16th, bar 6 beat 4.75.
Okay, I don't listen to it, don't need to listen to it all this time. Here's another neat trick with the up and down arrow keys. Shift, Alt, down, moves one step, and the technical term is diatonically, which means within the key signature. So if I just pressed down at this point, everything would move down a semitone or half step, but if I press Shift Alt down, everything will move down a step in the scale.
Time signature 4 slash.
I don't know why it said time signature, but hopefully it's done the right thing.
Note A4 quaver, 8th, bar 5 beat 1. Note G4 quaver, 8th, bar 6 beat 1.
It really did. Now, bar 7.
Note A4
it's still at A, so let's select that bar, Control Shift right.
Note A4.
And now I need to put this one down 2 steps, so Shift Alt down twice.
Time, key signature.
Don't worry about it saying key signature and time signature. It's probably done the right thing. Let's do...
Note A4 semiquaver, 16th, bar 8 beat.
Bar 8 is the last one I need to do. Shift Control right again.
Rest bar.
And Shift Alt down 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Rest bar.
And now then, let's go back to bar 5.
Oh, sorry, James. I think you just grabbed the last note of that bar rather than the whole bar.
Ah, well, we'll see that when I play it back.
Note A4 space.
So something went wrong on that last bar. As I said earlier, undo is your friend. So I pressed Alt Shift down 3 times to undo 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it very kindly played it for me that time. Let's try and
blank.
Select the bar properly.
N. Blank. Space.
We're still playing the music, so better press space.
Note A, rest, note A4 quaver, A, N. Note input mode, N. Normal mode.
Make sure I'm in normal mode. Try it again.
Note A4 semiquaver, 16th, bar 8 beat 4.75. Selected range selection starts bar 8 beat 1 ends bar 8 beat 4.75.
That's more like it.
Time, key, time signature.
So let's see if it worked this time.
Note A4 quaver, space. Space.
That's beautiful. I can't leave it with just the right hand. I'm going to add the left hand quickly just to show how easy it really can be.
Note B, note G4 quaver, 8th, bar 6 beat 1.
Alt
Stage
down
2, piano.
To get to the left hand, and I just need to write an E with a C as a crotchet chord. So
5. Crotchet. E. C.
With a Shift
Note
C
C
to
chord.
add the chord, then couple of crotchet rests with 0.
0. 0. Rest
Same
crotchet.
again,
E. C.
and then a D C chord.
D. C.
So Shift C
0. 0.
and DB
D. B.
and C octave,
C. C. 0. 0.
and the last one is a CE.
C. E.
Brilliant. Let's play that back. All 8 bars.
Blank.
Now I could have pressed home, or I could have even used another command which I should tell you about. Control F for find or go to. Type in your bar number, press enter, and you're straight there. When you've only got a few bars, not so important, but when you get into the dozens and dozens of bars, Control F is a real time saver. Space to play.
Space. 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 Space.
Beginning to sound quite nice. But there's a few things missing in this score. So far, we've only added notes, quite a lot of them, but it's only still notes. I need to add the tempo marking of Allegro. I would like to add an MF dynamic. There's a trill on one of those notes, and there's a slur on some of those notes as well. How do I do all that? Well, the answer is a thing called the palette. The palette in MuseScore has all kinds of interesting and sometimes slightly unusual musical symbols that you can add to your score. It includes everything from clefs to repeats to dynamics to ornaments and articulations and a whole bunch more. The basic procedure is you move to the note which you would like to attach this thing to. You then press Tab, find your palette, open the palette up, find the symbol in the palette and press Enter, and you're back to your score. So the first one I want to do is a tempo marking of Allegro. This is why I didn't do a BPM or beats per minute marking in the MuseScore wizard, because I knew I wanted to do an Allegro tempo marking from the palette. So I need to go back to the beginning.
Note C4 quaver, 8th, bar 1 beat 1.
I'm in the left hand still, so Alt up.
Stave 1, piano, note C5 minim, half.
Tempo markings normally attached to the right hand. So I'm on the first note.
Note C5 minim, half, bar 1 beat 1.
And now let's start tabbing around. So far in MuseScore, we've really concentrated on just the main score window, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff on the screen as well as just that. Tab will take us through the various toolbars, and remember that arrows will take you along those toolbars should you need to. So the first one.
Palette's radio button checked.
Oh, that's very convenient. Palette's radio button checked. This is the toolbar where I can choose whether to see the palettes or instruments or properties. So palettes, as I said, is where you can pick all sorts of interesting symbols to add to your score. Instruments is where you can change instruments and do things like that, add them and remove them even. And properties is where you can adjust properties of individual elements that you've already got. So, for example, I could make a small note, or I could make it green, or if I wanted to, I could change some text or change something about a tempo marking or whatever it is. I don't need to worry about that for this session. Palettes is where it's at the moment. Palettes is where I need to be. So let's press Tab again.
Add palettes button.
Add palettes. Well, if there aren't enough musical symbols for you, you can add more. I don't need to do that quite yet. Tab once more. Oh yes, in this one, if I arrow.
Search palettes button.
That's a very useful thing as well, the search button.
Ornaments palette.
Now I already added an ornaments palette. That's why that's there. You may not have that one. I already added that. So we're now in the list, if you like, of all the different palettes that I have selected. I want to add an Allegro tempo marking. So let's see if there's a tempo palette.
Clefs palette.
I'm just using arrow keys. Clefs is where you can find treble clef, bass clef, and all sorts of other interesting ones.
Key signatures palette.
That's where you can change your key signature partway through your piece.
Time signatures palette.
Likewise for time signatures.
Tempo palette.
Ah, tempo palette, that's the one I want. I need to open this. If you arrow right at this stage,
expand button.
There's an expand button. Pressing space on it.
Space. Collapse button.
It goes to a collapse button. What is all that about? Basically, expand will expand from just the name of the palette and actually show you what's in it, and collapse will hide that again. Arrow down.
Minim note equals 80 BPM.
Ah, metronome marking of 80 minims or half notes per minute. I really want Allegro. So in this palette, you have not only BPM markings, but if I carry on down.
Crotchet note equals 80 B. Quaver note equals 80. Dotted minim note. Dotted quaver. Grave. Largo.
Ah, here we go.
Lento. Larghetto. Adagio. Andante. Andantino. Moderato. Allegretto. Allegro.
Unfortunately, you cannot use first letter navigation. You have to use the arrow keys. I found the one I want, Allegro. Press Enter.
Score Sonata number 16 in C major panel, stave 1, piano, note C5 minim, half, bar 1 beat 1 tempo Allegro.
Ooh, it says tempo Allegro. Let's press space and see if it's had any effect.
Space. Space.
Yes, it has. It's ever so slightly faster than it was. So we know it works as well. I want to put an MF dynamic mezzo forte. Let's do that very quickly on the first note again. So
Blank.
there is the first note. Press tab.
Palettes rate.
There's palettes.
Add
There's allets.
ornaments palette.
Ornaments. This one, MF. That's going to be a dynamic, perhaps.
Clefs key time signature tempo pitch palette accident dynamics palette.
There it is. Just with arrowing down to find that.
Expand button.
Arrow right for the expand. Space. Arrow down.
PPP pianissimo.
That's pretty quiet. I don't want that one. Arrow down.
PP P MP MF.
That's the
mezzo
one I
forte.
want.
Dynamic MF mezzo forte bar 1 beat 1 edit.
Did you notice it said edit? I don't want to edit it. I'm pressing escape. It didn't say anything, but I should be back in normal mode. Right.
Add. Note input mode.
Note input.
C.
Remember, we need to be in normal mode to add things other than notes.
Add. Normal mode.
Okay, the next thing I want to do is add a slur in bar 2 from the B, the C, and the D. So I'm going to use the control right.
Note B4 dotted.
There it is, the control right to the dotted. And I need to select those 3 notes because the slur goes over all 3. If I didn't press select, it would only go between the B and the C.
Rest crotchet. Note C6 crotchet. Bar 3 beat 4.
I pressed the wrong buttons. So I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to go back with control left.
Rest crotchet. Note B4 dotted crotchet. Bar 2 beat 1.
And let's try again with just shift and right this time. I pressed shift control right by accident. Thankfully, there was no harm done. If you're unsure, of course, you can play.
Note C5. Note D5.
That's more like it. And because slurs are so common, there's a shortcut key. S.
S.
Didn't really say much there. Let's go and check
Blank.
it out.
Note B4 dotted crotchet. Bar 2 beat 1 start of slur.
Brilliant.
Note C5 semiquaver. Note D5 semiquaver. 16th. Bar 2 beat 2.75 end of slur.
Brilliant. And the last one that I want to add is a trill.
Notes rest crop. Note A5. Note G. Note C. Note G5. Note F5.
On that F. So tab again.
Palettes. Add ornaments palette.
Ornaments. Open that one.
Expand space. Turn. Inverted trill.
There's the one I want. Just with the arrow keys. And
Ornament trill. Bar 4 beat 2.
let's now play the whole thing and see our masterpiece. Well, it's Mozart's really, but we wrote it down.
Blank. Space.
All right.
Space.
That's sounding really good. Let's hit save. All right, I just did Control S, and of course it remembers the name and just saves it. Now then, I mentioned earlier about a Braille window. Those who are watching the screen will notice there is currently probably no Braille on the screen. So where did I get that from? In fact, you have to turn it on first. MuseScore preferences are available in the Edit menu, so Alt-E for the Edit menu.
Undo Control plus Z, Alt plus backspace.
And the first item, just like in many programs, is Undo. Preferences is actually at the very bottom of that menu, so I'm just going to arrow up once.
Preferences.
And press Enter.
Score sonata number. Preferences window. Preferences. Languages panel. System default combo box.
All right, we are in one of those wonderful dialogues where you have gazillions of options and a list of tabs where you can select the category. Shift tab to get to those categories.
General not selected.
It is actually selected, but never mind. Arrow down to find Braille.
Appearance, canvas, save, note in, score, audio, MIDI map, import, shortcut, update not select,
Now shortcuts, I should just pause on that one. I don't actually want to select it and explore it, but shortcuts is an excellent place to find all the shortcuts keys in MuseScore. There are lots of them. We've shown a few of them in this session, but there are loads and loads more. So T for tie, Shift V for an accent, Shift S for a staccato. I could carry on, but time's too short. We want the Braille window.
update not, folders, Advanced, Braille not selected.
There it is. Press space,
Space.
and there's Braille. Tab again to get back to the main options dialog bit.
Enable/disable panel. Show Braille panel checkbox not checked.
And it's currently not checked, so space to check it.
Space. Checked.
Brilliant. There are other options in this dialog for example, the Braille table used and the interval direction. I'm not going to look at those. I'm just going to OK the dialog.
Advanced OK button. Sonata number 16 in C major window. Sonata number 16 in C major. Sonata number 16 in...
Okay, we're back at the main score window where we left off. But now if I press Tab...
Braille edit.
Wow, Braille edit. And on my Braille display, instead of showing all the words, bar 1, beat 1, minim C5, and so on and so forth, it actually says in Braille, welcome to MuseScore Studio, exclamation mark. Well, that's exciting, but that's not really what I want. I want to actually show some music. So let's find...
Score Sonata number 16 in C. Tempo Allegro. Dynamic M. Note E5, Note G, Note B4 dotted.
There's bar 2, and I'm now going to tab.
Braille edit.
And the Braille display now shows me in Braille music, 4th octave, quaver, dot, slur of the B, note, slur, C semi, slur, D semi, and then a C, crotchet, quarter note, and a quarter note, crotchet, rest. All on the one line, as it were, Braille music. It's even more exciting than this. I'm going to go back and find the first empty bar. I could navigate in the Braille window with the control arrows, but I'm going to use the score window just for speed.
Note E, rest bar, bar 9 beat 1.
There's bar 9 beat 1, and it's blank.
Braille edit.
Braille edit just by pressing tab, and my Braille display shows the letter M for a bar rest. Now, am I in note input or not?
Scores N. Note input mode. Rest
I
bar.
am now in note input mode.
Braille.
Come back to the Braille input. And with my S, D, F, J, K, L 6-key input on the computer keyboard, I can write .5 with K.
K.
And the letter E for a D quaver.
K. F.
Hey, and it's appeared on my Braille display, and it then has a quaver rest, a crotchet rest, and a minim rest following it instead of that bar rest. I now want to write a whole bunch of semiquavers, and those of us who know Braille music know that the same signs are used both for semibreves and semiquavers. And until you've got the whole bar, it's difficult to tell which you need. So, of course, it's absolutely obvious when they're all in context, but when you're writing them from scratch, MuseScore wouldn't actually know. So there's a couple of extra buttons. There's space and the letter F, or space and dot 1. That selects the longer notes, semi-breve, whole notes, minim, half note, crotchet, quarter note, and quaver, 8th note. And space and the letter D, or dot 2, that selects the shorter notes, the longest one of those being the semiquaver, 16th note. And you can do shorter notes even than that. So I need to write space D, and now I can write in semiquavers. This is not going to be any grouping of notes, so I'm writing the and sign,
L,
the for
J,
sign,
D,
off
F,
sign,
F,
and so
D,
on.
D, D,
The
S.
next note is going to be a C sharp, and so I can just write SH sign, or dots 146, FJL,
L,
followed by the C.
F,
There it
S.
is. Let's continue writing semiquavers.
K, F,
Jump back to the 4th
S.
octave. So I now need to write another 4th octave sign. Now I'm in Braille music. I need to follow Braille music rules.
K, D, D, J, F, D, 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 F, D, 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 F, D, 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 S, D, 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 F, F,
And
S,
let's write the next bit in quavers. So space F,
F, D, L, F, F, J, K, F, D, F, J, F,
And I can even do the crotchets, hopefully.
L, K, F,
Interval
D,
signs.
J, K, S,
And fourth octave
K,
G.
F, D,
And a crotchet rest to finish it off.
L, F,
Now, the
D,
speech was
S.
reading all sorts of rubbish there. It was reading the keys I was pressing on the Braille display. Even though you can't see it, I can tell you it does actually show the right Braille music. Let's go and play it back to prove a point. Shift tab to go back to the normal window.
Rest crotch.
And I'm going to control left a few times.
Note F4 quadro.
Here we go. This will do.
Space.
And I did those last few bars purely in Braille music. The Braille music is fairly rudimentary in MuseScore. You can do notes, you can do intervals, you can do this brackety slurs with the 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 2, 3, but that's about all at the time of writing. We do hope for more features and functions as time goes on. Well, I've covered quite a lot of information there. I hope I haven't lost any of you. Let's open it up for questions. Oh, hit save.
That
Thank
was
you.
super interesting. Yes, so much stuff covered there, James. But I think actually that probably covers most of the stuff that people would need kind of up to GCSE and maybe even A-level composition level as well. So yeah, I think we'll go to any raised hands. We don't have any yet. So maybe if I pick out a couple of questions that we had submitted in advance.
Yes, sir, certainly. I should mention the handout again. There is a little bit more information in the handout. So there's a few more hotkeys mentioned there. And there's also how to do triplets and how to do what we call multiple voices in Braille music terms in a chord.
Brilliant. Yeah, loads and loads of good stuff there.
And of course, I should also mention how to get help. There's loads of stuff online.
There is loads of stuff online. So actually, we do have another resource around kind of resources for MuseScore, especially for screen reader users. So what I'll probably do is merge that into your handout as well, James, and make one kind of mega document for MuseScore resources. We had a question asked a couple of times. I know we weren't going to cover it originally, but because it's been asked a couple of times, I think I will just ask it. MIDI keyboards, MIDI input. I know it's maybe not the way that you work, James, but I just wanted to make sure that people were aware that you can use a MIDI keyboard. And actually beyond that, you can map keys on your keyboard to do functions that aren't just the notes as well. So you could have maybe the bottom octave on your keyboard could be note lengths. So you don't have to be going between your musical keyboard and your computer keyboard.
That's right. There's actually several ways you can input notes through a musical keyboard. There's what we were doing there is what they call step time input. So you select the length and then you type the notes. There's also various other kinds where you can set the note pitch with the rhythm that's already there, or you can set the rhythm with the pitch that's already there, or you can set even typing in what they call simulated real time, where you actually hold the notes for a number of metronome clicks. It's totally up to you which method suits. I could hook up a MIDI keyboard, but it's on the other side of the room, and that's why I've been using just the computer on its own.
Thanks for that, James. We've got a hand up from James Risden. James, you should be able to unmute now if you would like to.
Hi, Jay.
Hello.
Thanks very much, James. That's terrific. I'm afraid I joined a bit late, so I'm hoping it will be available so I can catch up the first half. I just wanted to ask a question about, from the point of view of a blind person who, has had to learn clefs and staves and all that kind of stuff. If you're inputting notes, from what I heard, you don't actually need any knowledge of staves and clefs in order to be able to input notes, and presumably it all appears in the right place. So you can write in the alto clef for a viola, and as long as you select the right notes, it's all in the right place. Is that right?
That is correct. Now, I should have said this score really, the left hand does begin in the treble clef, and I haven't actually done that. So in the left hand currently, visually, the first few bars are right up in the air with loads of ledger lines. If I wanted to, I could go back to that bass clef and change it to a treble clef, and all the notes would beautifully shift into the right positions.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Okay, so Timothy, you should be able to unmute now.
Well, let me just say this is fabulous. I have been a GoodFeel user since 2011, and I love GoodFeel, but it's wonderful to have extra tools in the toolbox. And this one sounds like in some ways it will have some advantages over GoodFeel. Sorry, Mr. McCann. I love your program, but I think this one has some more advantages. One of the things I was curious about, which wasn't discussed in this presentation, is you mentioned the two different websites, one for publishing music and one for downloading MuseScore. I was wondering, when it comes to publishing music, if anyone is able to publish a piece of music that they wrote
Yes, you can.
to this website and be able to charge for it.
Now, whether you charge for it is a different matter. I don't know how the charging model works for your own compositions, but you can certainly upload pieces. I've done that myself. I was actually interested in pieces which weren't there, classical pieces which weren't there, and I've uploaded I think it's 3 at the moment. I've got another one lined up, Scarlatti sonatas, and I've put those as public domain. But of course, you can change that license, and you can say it's in copyright, no alterations, etc., etc. And there are different subscription models. When you get into the MuseScore.com website, you can have a free account, a pro account, or a pro plus account. Now, the fine detail of what they all mean is slightly beyond my knowledge at the present time, because I've only got the free account, but obviously the more money you pay, the more access you get to different scores, including professionally produced ones.
Okay.
They're not all, of course, always in MuseScore format. Some of them might be just PDFs, but for most of them, I would say you can download MuseScore, Music XML, MIDI, MP3, or a whole bunch of other stuff. I could also just mention here file export, something I didn't mention in the main presentation. If you just do file save, obviously it saves in the MuseScore native format. File export, remember to use your arrows as well as tabs, and you get a whole bunch of other file formats that you can save to, including PDF, bunch of different audio ones, MIDI, and even Music XML, and there's even a rudimentary Braille output one. Music XML is interesting for us because it's a file exchange format between all sorts of other music notation tools, and I could export from MuseScore and then load it into a Braille music translation program and get some beautiful Braille.
Yeah, brilliant. And I know we weren't going to go into that a whole lot today, James. Maybe we'll save that for another time. But just
if people are interested, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps just maybe the top line of using SMB, that'd be useful if people want to explore it themselves in the meantime. Yeah,
so SMB is the SAO-MI Braille converter. SAO-MI is spelt SAOMAI, and it's a fully functioned Braille translation program. It can do text, it can do maths and science, it can do diagrams, just black and white dot diagrams with your embosser, and it can do music. Now that's very exciting to have such a program like that. So I can take the XML, which I exported from MuseScore, import it into SMB, hit translate, making sure I've got all the options how I want them, and out comes Braille music, which I can read on a Braille display or emboss and read on paper.
And yeah, just such a quick workflow as well. I mean, we've seen today, I mean, I think if you did your demonstration at full speed today, that could have been done in, 5 minutes, something like that. And then just, yeah, probably the same again for getting the Braille. So yeah, it's potentially a game changer. So we've got another hand up from Ziad. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong there, Ziad.
Good evening, guys. You did pronounce my name correctly. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi. It's so interesting presentation. And I have a problem actually with MuseScore. I downloaded it and I wanted to save my score as MIDI. So I know you did mentioned it just now briefly, but when I tried to save, I hit export, and I only found PDF and the MuseScore file. So I was just wondering, do we need a premium subscription, or would that work for the free account as well? And how is it done, please?
Okay, so I will show you export then, folks.
Thank you.
Remember to use your arrow keys as well as tab. And where I think you may have missed something, remember those combo boxes? You need to press space to open them up. Let's have a look. So File, Export. So Alt F for File.
New. Quick
And I'm actually cursoring up because export is towards the bottom.
Print. Project. Share on. Export.
There it is. There is actually a ... on my Braille display, but I haven't got the speech punctuation high enough to actually vocalize that.
Export window. Export. Main score checkbox checked.
So the main score, yeah, that's correct. Tab.
Select all button.
Select all parts.
Format. PDF file combo box.
This is, I think, where you were possibly getting stuck, Ziad. So I'm pressing space because it's a combo box.
Space.
And
PDF
then
file.
I use the arrow keys and I can find
PNG images not selected. SVG images not. MP3 audio not. Wave audio not select. OGG audio not select. FLAC audio not. MIDI file not selected.
That's the one you were interested in. Press space.
Format. MIDI file combo box.
And now instead of saying PDF, it says MIDI. Before you press tab, just explore with the arrow keys to see if there are any options specific to that file format.
Expand repeats checkbox checked.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So if you had a repeated section in Braille music, the GH lower G and GH lower B, or in print terms, the double bar with the dots, then this option will expand those repeats. So it'll actually play it twice. You have an option.
Export
Well,
RPN.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for explaining this spacebar thing. I'm really willing to try it and see how I get on. Thank you so much once again.
You're very welcome. I'm going to cancel out of this dialogue.
Sonata number 16.
Brilliant.
With
So
escape.
we've got one more hand up, and I think we'll take that as the last question. Then we'll do a quick summary, Matthew, if that's okay, of the stuff in the chat. So final question from great name, Lone Arranger.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Kind of a two-part question. When you pressed the space bar and you played the music, since it was a right hand, left hand situation, it played both hands.
Yes.
And I assume if you chose quartet and you press space bar, it would play all four parts.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
some way to select one or more of the staves? So if you wanted to play the violin and cello only by pressing the space bar, could you do that?
Yes, you could. There is a thing which we haven't even looked at in MuseScore called the mixer. And just like an audio mixer hardware one, you have volumes and pans and mutes and solo buttons. And therefore you could mute the viola and violin too. And then when you play, you would only get those two parts, violin one and cello. Now, more than that, there's another little trick that you can do. If you select some notes on a stave before you press play, it'll only play that particular stave. I should say instrument, because if you have a double stave like a piano, it will still play both. But if you did it with, say, a string quartet and you just selected some notes in the cello part and press play, you would only hear the cello part, even if there were notes on the other staves.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll go through the chat, shall we, Jay?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll do my best to sum this up as best I can. I'm kind of reading on the spot, but not to put you on the spot, James, but we had Mark Sabatella in the room. I don't know if you spotted that. So Mark very complimentary about the presentation. Mark, for those who don't know, is one of the MuseScore developers. Also does a lot of work training predominantly sighted people in the use of MuseScore, but his YouTube videos are very good. And include lots of accessibility information. So they're worth a look at Mastering MuseScore on YouTube. But
further than that, at the bottom of the handout, there is actually a link to Mark's website, which is called Outside Shore Music.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And there's
so
a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Very well worth a visit.
So he was just saying that he's worked with blind students and provided them assignments in MuseScore format, and that they've then completed those assignments within MuseScore. These are totally blind students, completed them in MuseScore, sent them back, and Mark's been able to mark them as a sighted person. So that's just one use case for where MuseScore can come in useful. He also clarified there was a bit of confusion about why is it called MuseScore Studio, and does it have any DAW features like Reaper or Logic or anything like that? And Mark just clarified that no, it doesn't. But the reason why it's called Studio, MuseScore Studio, is to differentiate it from the MuseScore publishing arm of MuseScore. And he says thank you very much for the presentation. There were some questions about accessing the handout afterwards, and that will be made available on the Sound Without Sight website. Interesting one from Hattie Douglas, another name that I think you might know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. So she says that she's found that if you switch the voice to Microsoft Zira, apparently that's a voice that gives better pronunciation of the musical terms than the current Microsoft voice that seems to be the default in the UK.
That's a real good tip. Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah Morley Wilkins says it's a fantastic presentation. So too does Christina Christensen. And there's a few links that Sarah Morley Wilkins has put in to do with pricing for MuseScore.com and Salmi Braille. And I think that's basically everything that's worth pointing out. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, I'm gonna close the session there, but thank you so much, James, for a really, really great demo. Super informative, and I think the recording as well. We'll try and promote it, far and wide, because there was so much good stuff in there. I think, yeah, it does cover pretty much all the basic use cases of MuseScore. So thank you very much for your time, James.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sound Without Sight podcast. Sound Without Sight is a community-driven online knowledge hub, collating information and resources to support blind and partially sighted musicians and audio engineers to break down access barriers. If you're a visually impaired musician or audio engineer, why not share some solutions you found on our knowledge hub? You can learn more and get involved at soundwithoutsight.org. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, please consider making a donation to support the project. You can do so at soundwithoutsight.org/donate. The music you're listening to was kindly contributed by community member Mackie Jones of MapleMixProductions.com.